Hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, we're talking about something I think every single English learner has experienced. David, have you ever studied a bunch of new words, felt super confident, and then a week later they're just gone?
Oh, all the time, Clara. It's one of the most frustrating parts of learning a language. You feel like you're putting in so much effort, and it just slips away. I remember this one time, I spent an entire weekend studying phrasal verbs. I was so proud of myself on Monday, but by Wednesday, when I tried to use them in a conversation, my mind was just blank. It's like my brain hit a delete button.
Exactly. It's so demoralizing. You start to think, am I bad at this? Is my memory just terrible? We've heard this from so many of our listeners. They feel like they're in a constant loop. Learn, forget, learn, forget. But here's the thing. It's not you. It's not a personal failure or a sign that you're not a good learner.
You're right. There's a scientific reason for it, and it's called the forgetting curve. It's a concept that was first identified way back in the 1880s by a German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus. He basically proved that we forget new information incredibly quickly if we don't actively work to remember it.
The image is pretty powerful, right? Imagine a graph. When you first learn something, your memory retention is at 100%. But then, that line just drops, like falling off a cliff. Within an hour, you might have already forgotten half of what you just learned. And after a day, you could be down to only retaining about 30%. It's a natural, almost automatic process for our brains.
The brain is always trying to be efficient. It says, okay, this new information is here, but is it important? Do we use it? No. Let's clear some space for something else. It's just a part of how our memory system works. The good news is, once you understand this process, you can stop fighting it and start working with it. So, let's dive deeper into the why. Ebbinghaus's research showed that forgetting is exponential. It's not a slow, steady decline. The biggest drop in memory happens right after you've learned something new. It's a rapid decay.
Think about it like a road you just drove on. The first time you go, the path is new, maybe a little bumpy. But if you don't drive on that road again, the weeds will start to grow over it, the path fades, and eventually, it's hard to find. The more you travel that road, the more solid and easy to find it becomes.
Exactly. And there are a few key factors that influence how fast that happens. First, there's the difficulty of the material. A simple word like hello is easy to remember. A complex idiom or a grammar rule with many exceptions, that's going to be forgotten much faster.
Another huge factor is stress and lack of sleep. When we're stressed or tired, our brains don't consolidate memories properly. You can study for hours, but if you go to bed with a mind full of worry, your brain won't be able to properly move that information from short-term to long-term memory. It's a physical, biological process.
And finally, there's the issue of lack of context and meaning. If you just memorize a list of 50 random words, your brain has no reason to care about them. There's no story, no emotional connection, no real-life use. It's like a list of phone numbers for people you'll never call. They'll just be deleted.
That's a great point. We can't just treat our brains like a hard drive. We have to give the information a reason to stick around. And that's where the solution starts. It's not about cramming more. It's about learning smarter. So, if forgetting is natural, how do we fight it? The answer is a concept Ebbinghaus also discovered, and it's called spaced repetition. It sounds complex, but it's really a simple idea.
It's the opposite of cramming. Instead of studying something once for a long time, you review it in small, spaced-out intervals. You study it, then you review it a day later, then 3 days later, then a week later, and so on. Every time you review the information, you are telling your brain, hey, this is important. Don't delete it.
It's like giving your brain a little wake-up call right before it's about to forget. Each review session flattens the forgetting curve. That steep drop becomes a gentler slope, and with each repetition, the amount of time you need to wait until the next review gets longer.
It's super effective for vocabulary. Let's say you learn a new word today. You should try to use it or review it tomorrow. Then, if you remember it, you can wait 3 days. If you still remember it, maybe a week later. Eventually, that word is so deeply ingrained in your long-term memory that you rarely, if ever, forget it.
This is the science behind why flashcard apps are so popular. They use algorithms to automatically show you the words you're about to forget. They're designed to apply the principle of spaced repetition for you. But you don't need an app to do this. You can do it yourself with a simple notebook.
Spaced repetition is the when of learning, but active recall is the how. This is probably the most powerful technique you can use to combat the forgetting curve. What is active recall?
It's a simple shift in mindset. Instead of passively looking at information, you actively try to pull it from your memory. Most people study by reading their notes or rereading a textbook. That's passive. It feels productive, but it's not a strong way to form memories.
Active recall is about testing yourself. So, instead of just reading a list of new vocabulary words, you look at the word in English and try to remember the meaning without looking at your notes. Or you look at the word in your native language and try to remember the English word.
You could also try to explain a grammar rule to yourself without looking at the book. Or tell a simple story using only the new words you learned. The moment you force your brain to retrieve that information from its own storage, you are strengthening the neural connections. It's like doing reps at the gym for your memory.
This is why simply watching English videos isn't enough. It's great for passive listening, but to truly learn, you have to engage. Maybe you pause the video and try to summarize what you just heard. Or you try to repeat a phrase after the speaker to practice pronunciation. Even that simple act of trying to recall and replicate is a form of active recall. The simple act of trying to remember is what makes the memory stick.
So, how do we put all of this together into a practical routine? It's not about adding more hours. It's about making the time you already spend more effective.
First, microlearning sessions. You don't need a huge 2-hour study block. It's far better to do 2 20-minute sessions per day than one 40-minute session. Your brain needs time to process and consolidate.
You could do one session in the morning on the bus to work, where you review some flashcards. And then another session in the evening before bed, where you try to write a few sentences using those same words. The brain does a lot of memory consolidation during sleep, so reviewing before bed is an excellent strategy.
Second, mix up your practice. Don't just do vocabulary. Use a new word you learned in a conversation with a friend. Try to write a short text message using a new phrase. The more varied the context, the more connections your brain makes, and the stronger the memory becomes.
This is also where techniques like shadowing can be so helpful. Not because you're just copying sounds, but because you're forcing your brain to actively recall pronunciation and word order as you speak along with the audio. It's another layer of active recall.
Third, connect new information to old information. When you learn a new word, don't just learn its definition. Think of a word you already know that is similar or opposite. Think of a personal story where you could use this word. Creating these mental links makes the information stickier. Let's get really practical. How can a listener who's maybe intermediate apply this stuff today?
Okay, so let's say you watch an episode of a show you love. Instead of just binging the whole thing, why not watch one 15-minute chunk? As you watch, keep a notebook. Write down maybe 2 or 3 new words or phrases that you hear. Don't worry about understanding everything. Just focus on those 2 or 3 things.
Then, later that day, you could do a quick check. Look at your notes and try to remember the context in which those words were used. Try to create a new sentence of your own using one of them. That's a form of active recall, and it's a small review.
A few days later, you can open your notebook again and look at those same words. Maybe you search for another example of them online, or try to find a short video clip where they're used differently. You're coming back to the information, but in a new way, which is a form of spaced repetition.
What about grammar? Let's say you're struggling with the present perfect. Instead of just reading a grammar book, try to write a little journal entry about your week using only that tense. I have visited my parents. I have finished my project. You're forcing your brain to actively produce sentences using the new rule.
Right.
And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of the process. They're just opportunities for your brain to learn how to correct itself. The goal is not perfection. It's consistent, deliberate practice. So, let's wrap this up with a final thought. The biggest takeaway today is to change your mindset about forgetting. Forgetting isn't a sign of failure. It's a natural, normal process.
Your brain is a muscle, not a storage locker. It gets stronger the more you exercise it. And that exercise isn't just about passive consumption. It's about active engagement. It's about giving your brain a reason to keep the information you're giving it.
So, the next time you feel that little panic of, oh no, I forgot that word, don't beat yourself up. Just see it as a signal. It's your brain saying, I need to review this. And now you have the tools to do it effectively. You have a plan.
Exactly. The forgetting curve is a challenge, but with spaced repetition and active recall, it's a challenge you can absolutely conquer.
That's all for today's episode. We hope this has given you a new perspective on your learning journey. If you found this helpful, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next video. You can also follow us on social media for daily tips and language challenges to help you apply these concepts. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.